The events begin in a world where the hero once lived. The world he knew was gone. One moment, everything was as it should be. The next, the sky split open, torn apart by blinding light and a deafening roar. From that rift came monsters, endless and merciless. He fought, even as others screamed and fell around him. There was no time to grieve. He fought because he had to. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. He learned to survive, blade in hand, never looking back. A month passed, then a year, 10. Now, his sword was an extension of himself. He sliced through beasts like wind through grass. But one day, something changed. He faced a power unlike any he'd ever known. A figure cloaked in darkness. The voice was calm, condescending. "Give up. The world you lived in has already perished." He recognized him. The one behind it all. The puppet master who had turned his world into hell. The figure looked at him not as an enemy. Such a waste of talent. "Become my sword." But he didn't flinch. He looked the man in the eye and answered. "Don't make me laugh." He let out a fierce battle cry as he charged forward, fury written across his face. His armor glinted in the blaze as he launched himself at the towering demon, driving his sword downward with relentless power. But the demon was ready. With monstrous strength, it intercepted the blow, their clash shaking the earth around them. The warrior leapt back, eyes glowing with determination, and immediately charged again. The demon's eyes widened, just for a moment, at the sheer tenacity. He closed the distance once more, blades slashing with blinding speed. The demon countered violently, slamming him back with a brutal fist. His body flew through the air, crashing hard into the scorched ground. "You struggle, but it's meaningless." The demon's voice echoed. He fought on, darting forward with a desperate yell, trying to find any opening, any weakness. But the demon was relentless. A colossal strike sent him hurtling back, tearing through the battlefield. He screamed in pain as his blood sprayed across the charred earth. The demon stood tall, towering like a god of war, hatred burning in his crimson eyes. Hanging from his neck was a crystal pendant, a faint light gleaming from within. In a world where supernatural powers clash with devastating consequences, a lone hero confronts an overwhelming evil. The blonde-haired warrior, bloodied but resolute, unleashes a final, radiant attack against a monstrous entity. Despite the villain's desperate cries, the hero's power proves absolute. As the enemy disintegrates into nothingness, the battlefield falls silent. The warrior collapses beneath the vast, star-streaked sky, finding peace in the beauty above, even in what seems to be his final moment. But this is not the end. The scene shifts abruptly to a modern, urban world. A teenage boy, bearing no signs of the epic struggle just witnessed, walks the city streets in silence. Soon, he arrives at a heavily restricted facility, Namsan Gate, a portal requiring licensed heroes to enter. A young man, dressed plainly and carrying nothing but a black backpack, calmly approached the gate at Yongsan District, Seoul. His resolve unwavering, he sprinted forward and dove into the unknown. The system immediately flagged his unauthorized entry. Alarms blared, signaling the presence of an unregistered individual inside the gate. But the young man, undeterred, found himself in a lush, otherworldly forest within the gate. His presence didn't go unnoticed for long. A patrol unit of professional hunters spotted him and confronted him, curious and skeptical. They asked if he was lost and offered to escort him out. His attire and demeanor made it difficult for them to believe he was a licensed hero or even a porter. Some laughed at his casual appearance, pointing out how unfit he looked for the dangers of a gate. One of them even speculated he was a clueless porter abandoned by his team. Still, the young man remained calm. He admitted that he had just arrived, not offering much else. One of the hunters, seemingly experienced, warned him against entering gates without proper licensing and training. The Namsan Gate, he added, was a C-rank gate, not one suitable for amateurs. Though the advice was well-intentioned, the young man dismissed it with subtle defiance. He didn't ask for concern, nor was he grateful. Whatever his reasons, he had come into this gate with purpose and wasn't planning to leave quietly. Soon he realized before him stood a massive, intimidating beast clad in armor with a skull-like faceplate. Its sheer presence loomed like death incarnate. Undeterred, the young man approached calmly, his demeanor steady despite the threat. With a savage roar, the monstrous orc lunged forward, baring its tusks and charging with murderous intent. But the young man didn't flinch. In one smooth motion, he shifted his stance, eyes narrowing with intense focus. Then came a surge of speed, a blur. The battle was swift, violent. Moments later, the lifeless body of the orc lay sprawled in the clearing, a pool of blood staining the earth beneath it. The young man knelt beside it, his arms soaked in crimson, his breathing calm. Nothing had changed. This world, this battlefield, was just as merciless as he remembered. Not a single thing was different. A young man stands, in the aftermath of battle, his body bloodied and bruised. Calmly, he reaches down and picks up a large, curved blade. He seems expressionless as he stares at his reflection in blade. With cold determination, he attacks a monstrous creature, cutting it down with a single, brutal strike. Blood splatters everywhere as the beast falls. Standing over the now-dead creature, he extracts a glowing red gem from its body. The gem sparkles with energy, identified as a low-grade magic stone. He reflects, "Back then, I wouldn't even glance at such a low-tier thing." He senses something and glances sideways cautiously. The ground starts shaking. Something is approaching. A group of monstrous orcs emerges from a forest. Without hesitation, they charge at him aggressively. He slashes through one of them with ease and throws the magic stone in high speed to another. The battle continues, with the protagonist weaving through enemies. One of the monsters falls with a loud thud. More of them rush him, but he remains calm and alert. His face, still expressionless and deadly focused, a stark contrast to the chaos around him. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, a group of adventurers made their way along a winding path, the sunlight flickering through the trees. The red-haired woman walked near the front, arms crossed, brow furrowed. That rude guy from earlier," she murmured aloud. Then, turning to her teammate, she asked, "What if he really ends up dead?" Her friend chuckled. "Wait, are you actually worried?" Before she could respond, a black-haired agent at the rear spoke, his tone steady and serious. "If he's an intruder, then by now, agents from the control center should already be on their way." Elite agents sprinted through the forest, swift and focused. "This is a rank C gate," Namsan once said calmly. "So only rank B or higher are dispatched." On the other side, the adventurers discuss that he'll be fine as long as he doesn't rush in, another agent added confidently. The red-haired woman echoed, "Hyungnim is right." But one scoffed, "That arrogant punk's probably trembling, just waiting for us to save him." Scene shifts. A huge, muscular monster glares menacingly. The monster growls and charges, but the protagonist swiftly dodges and slams a devastating punch into the monster's face. In a flurry of movement, the monster tries to counter, but the protagonist leaps into the air. The kick lands behind the monster's head, crushing the monster. The beast lies defeated, blood pooling. Protagonist stands over it, calm and collected, adding 3 magic stones to his collection as his eyes glow faintly. He walks away under a clear sky, the chaos behind him now silent. He thought that the harvest isn't great. So far, 12 low-grade, 16 lower-mid-grade stones. Behind him, someone shouts this way. A group of men in black suits approach him and tell that they were from the gate control center. "Please show your hero registration ID. If you're unregistered, you'll need to come with us to the control center." Protagonist asked, "Gate control center?" The agent stepped forward, his tone firm. "Please comply with our instructions." The protagonist glanced at him, eyes narrowing. "Now what's this?" he thought, irritation flickering across his face. Without a word, he turned and began walking away, clearly done with the conversation. The agent stepped forward, handcuffs ready. If you refuse, we may use physical force. But before he could act, the protagonist grabbed his wrist, firm and unyielding. Any injury from resistance will be your responsibility, the agent warned. It's best we settle this calmly at the control center. Tension hung thick in the air. With one swift movement, the protagonist twisted the agent's arm and sent him staggering back. The agent gasped, completely caught off guard. The protagonist didn't even break stride. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Don't bother me." A sudden crackle of energy filled the air. A sword was drawn. "A rank 4 magic seal." "Huh," the protagonist muttered, eyeing the glowing formation. "That might work on orcs, but not on me." In a flash, he moved, too fast to follow. The opponent was sent flying, slamming into the ground with a howl of pain. Final warning. If you don't want to get hurt, go back. The protagonist stands firm, looking coolly ahead. His eyes are filled with confidence and control, bathed in the afterglow of unleashed power. An agent drops from the sky with immense force, striking the protagonist. Without hesitation, the protagonist retaliates, kicking an agent in a black suit and sending him flying. The attacker, caught off guard, reels in shock as the protagonist dodges with ease and counters with precision. The agent in sunglasses groans, eyes locked on the protagonist. In a blur, the protagonist vanishes at high speed. Disappeared? The agent thinks, scanning for movement. The boy reappears behind another attacker, landing a devastating blow. The last agent, trembling, began to back away. "You," the protagonist said, his voice calm but firm. "Yes." The protagonist narrowed his eyes. "Registered heroes don't have any problems, right? As long as they don't break the law inside a gate." "No," the agent replied nervously. "Agents aren't dispatched without cause." The protagonist pressed on. "What about rift zones?" The agent's expression darkened. "Rift zones, unstable passages to other worlds where strange monsters emerge. Across the globe, nations contain these threats by sealing the zones into government-controlled areas called gates. The monsters' byproducts, valuable as energy resources, make these zones both dangerous and essential. But areas not yet claimed or secured remain wild. Those are rift zones." The protagonist's gaze hardened. "So no matter which gate I go to, you people will keep coming after me, won't you?" The agent said nothing, but his silence spoke volumes. The protagonist stepped forward, his tone cold. "Claiming it's trespassing, or what have you." The agent nodded quickly. Yes, that's correct. If an unregistered hero enters a gate without authorization, the control center is immediately alerted. Nearby agents are dispatched on the spot." He added, "Rift zones aren't as accessible as gates, but the Hero Association won't ignore them either." The protagonist tilted his head slightly. "Ah, so what?" The agent froze, eyes wide. "This guy's a psycho. This bastard. Damn it, I should have contacted headquarters from the start." Before he could move, the protagonist hurled the agent into the forest. The agent crashed through the underbrush, groaning in pain. Such a nobody, the protagonist thought, barely giving him a second glance. Behind him, the agent clutched his ribs, glaring through the trees. "This bastard. Next time, I'll definitely kill you." Scene shifts, a memory from the past. A monstrous voice roared in panic. The protagonist heard it echoing around him. Suddenly, his body went numb. His vision swirled. "I lost consciousness, felt like I was being sucked into something. And then, death. I considered it death." A soft glow pulsed in the void. Protagonist slowly opened his eyes, suspended in a vast, sky-like space. Before him stood a mysterious young boy. "Who are you?" the protagonist asked. "My name is CEO Dojin," he replied, voice steady. "I am dying. If you grant my request, I'll vanish quietly." The protagonist refused. The young boy paused, as if weighed by centuries. Scene shift to protagonist, his expression distant. "No matter how hard I worked, It meant nothing in the end, it said. For 10 years I fought. Everything I built was erased, and the comrade I trusted betrayed me. My country was destroyed. My friend died, even my family. I tried and tried, but in the end it was all for nothing. CEO Dojin looked at the figure with calm understanding. You too, right? They floated together in silence above an endless void. The CEO Dojin spoke again. Even if my first life ended like that, I don't want my grandmother and Yunying to live like that. A breath. Huh. So, CEO Dojin met the being's gaze. Just tell me one thing, briefly. What is it you want? What I wish for is... Scene shifts to Gazan Digital Complex, Jumchingu, Seoul, once Garabongdong, now called the Hero Complex. The streets, once known for IT companies, are now overflowing with trade and gate byproducts. Amid the bustle, protagonist walked the city streets, eyes scanning buildings. Should I go with this place? He thought. Dingling. A door chime rang as he stepped into a shop. A cheerful voice greeted him from inside. Welcome. An attendant sat at the counter, eyes sharp. Protagonist steps forward calmly. I'd like to sell some mana stones, he said, his voice steady and composed. You've come to the right place, the attendant exclaims. We offer the best purchase price in Seoul. No, in all of Korea. Then clatter. A pile of bright red mana stones spilled onto the counter. The attendant's eyes widened. Are those mana stones? He leaned in, inspecting them closely. You've got quite a few here. Please wait a moment while I sort them. Scene shifts. Protagonist sat back on a nearby sofa, sipping a warm cup of coffee. From the background, the worker called out, 12 low-grade mana stones, 6 mid-low-grade, and 3 high-low-grade mana stones. The worker started entering data. You're aware the commission is 40% of the purchase price, right? He tapped a few more keys, then smiled. The total amount you'll receive is 5.46 million won. Protagonist, still calm, raised a hand slightly. Stop. Protagonist's voice cut through the room. I did the hunting. You guys just handle the purchase. And yet the commission's 40%. The worker stiffened. Sir, you clearly don't understand how things work. He forced a smile. Normally, we take 45%. We're doing you a favor here. If you don't want to sell, take them back. Protagonist stood up, gathering the stones. I'll do that. Hey, sir, the worker called out in a panic. You still have to pay the sorting fee, right? And the coffee isn't free either. He scrambled for numbers. Sorting, 300,000 won. Coffee, 10,000. And because we used an expensive towel to wipe off your blood, another 40,000. So, 350,000 won total. Protagonist turned cold. I don't have money to give you. Try and take it if you can. The attendant's voice trembled with forced confidence. You'll have to pay, you know. We've got a few C-rank heroes backing us up. Some C-rank heroes stood up from a break room, annoyed. What is it? Why'd you call us? He frowned, clearly irritated. Someone causing trouble again? He muttered. The eyes of the protagonist and the C-rank heroes locked, tension crackling in the air as they stared each other down. The scene shifted to an attendant peering over a counter, trembling in fear. His expression is panicked, as he stares wide-eyed at the protagonist punching the C-rank heroes with immense strength, flying backward. All 3 C-ranked heroes growled in pain across the floor. The protagonist stands confidently, having swiftly taken down all opposition, while the frightened attendant remains by the counter, stunned by the scene before him. The protagonist begins walking calmly toward the counter, each step echoing in the now silent room. As he approaches the attendant behind the counter, he speaks coolly. The commission is 1%. He places a hand casually on the counter and adds with a confident smirk. Let's have smooth transactions from now on. I'll come again next time. As the protagonist enters his home, he places a large bundle of money on the table. His grandmother and younger sister stare at it in shock, eyes wide with disbelief. His grandmother stammers. Dojin H, what is all this money? His sister echoes in amazement. What is all this? The protagonist, slightly flustered but trying to keep it casual, scratches his head and replies. A while ago, I lent money to a friend who was starting a business, and that business became a huge success. His grandmother, still stunned, clasps her hands together and stammers. Why you have a friend like that? A look of doubt flashes across her face. The protagonist, keeping his expression calm, answers, You know the place I grew up. He's a friend I hung out with back then. His grandmother slowly nods, still unsure. Of course I know. Suddenly, his younger sister lights up, eyes sparkling with excitement. Brother, then are we rich now? The protagonist smiles softly and nods. Yes, from now on. His sister's eyes go wide with joy. She suddenly jumps up, unable to contain her excitement. Wow, we're rich. She jumps again, laughing and spinning in place. We're becoming rich. Her joy is infectious. The room, once filled with uncertainty, now overflows with hope and happiness. The memory floods back to the protagonist, a final conversation etched into his mind. He remembers CEO Dojin, standing with a calm expression, looking him in the eye. Grandma and Yunying, please let them live in a house safer than anywhere else. Before the protagonist could even respond, CEO Dojin disappeared, gone without a word, leaving only those parting wishes behind. Cut to the present. A slow inhale, the sound of breath. The protagonist opens his eyes, seeing high reflection in mirror. He narrates, When I woke up, I had become SEO Dojin. A new life, a borrowed identity, and a promise yet to be fulfilled. Eyes scanning a sleek, modern home listing. The safest house in Korea costs 110 billion won at the current market price. He exhales slowly, the weight of CEO Dojin's request lingering in his thoughts. I have no obligation to keep such a one-sided promise, but if only my strength returns, that much money is nothing. Rifts, gates, monsters. Everything here is weaker than in my world that was destroyed. To me, who is a sword god, this place is like child's play, but not even 10%, 1/10, of my strength has returned yet. Suddenly, a voice echoes from outside the room. SEO Dojin, you in there? The protagonist glances toward the door, alert. I'll go out and see. He turns to his grandmother just behind him and speaks calmly but firmly. Please stay inside. Outside, a rough, mocking voice calls out. SEO Dojin, you should repay borrowed money on time. Another voice chimes in. Do you know how much money you have to repay? It's a whopping 48 million won. These are the loan sharks. The ones the real CEO Dojin borrowed money from before he died. The 5 million won he borrowed for grandma's hospital bills became 10 times that in such a short time. One of the loan sharks sneers with smug satisfaction. Another steps forward, eyes gleaming with greed. You made some money from the gate, right? Hand it all over. We're taking all this according to the contract, so don't feel it's unfair. Now let us call protagonist, SEO Dojin. As the two try to force him to pay, CEO Dojin landed an incredibly powerful punch on one of them with surprising speed. The other man was stunned by CEO Dojin's unexpected speed and power. Visibly shaken by the sudden attack, Sei Dojin approached the second man menacingly, stating that he had already paid over 9 million won, and in fact he should be the one asking for his money back. The man backed away in fear, asking in shock and disbelief whether he was really the same CEO Dojin he used to know. Sei Dojin didn't answer his question. Instead, he gave him one final firm warning and told him in a clearly threatening tone to inform his boss that he would be visiting him soon. In a bustling shopping mall filled with people moving between various stores, a large display of plush toys suddenly appears on the shelves of a retail shop arranged in an attractive manner. The young girl, Eun-young, gazes at the toys with excitement and joy, wondering to herself if she can really buy a new doll. Dojin smiles gently at his little sister, assuring her that he already bought her new clothes and that she can now get anything she wants. Dojin starts reflecting on his emotions, realizing that the mixed memories he shares with the original Dojin have influenced his previously dull and numb feelings. He continues watching his little sister Yunying and thinks that what he feels might just be sympathy. Still, he admits that the original Dojin was truly kind to his half-sister Yunying. Yunying remains standing excitedly in front of the toys, unable to easily choose one. At that moment, Dojin silently vows to at least protect the heart of the original Dojin, who loved his little sister deeply. Anyong finally picks out a small toy and asks Dojin if she can have it. When she holds up the little doll to show him, Jun reaches out and instead selects a large, beautiful plush toy for her. He reminds her once more that he told her to buy whatever she wants without hesitation. Yunying smiles brightly, full of gratitude for her brother. After shopping, the two sit together in a restaurant to eat with a variety of delicious dishes laid out on the table. While eating, Dojin suddenly hears a girl's voice from behind him, surprised and asking if the person sitting in front of her is really Dojin. He turns toward the voice and sees a well-dressed girl accompanied by a group of large bodyguards. The girl begins mocking Jun's appearance, saying it doesn't look any better than before, then asks dismissively about the little girl with him. Jun glares at her sharply while she mocks him further, asking if Yunying is as much trouble as her mother once was. The atmosphere grows increasingly tense due to her words, and Dojin and his sister sit silently as the girl approaches their table with the guards. Yunying, confused, quietly wonders who the girl bothering them is, while Dojin remains silent and visibly angry. The girl gives a sly smile and continues taunting and mocking them without pause, while Yunying innocently stares at her, not understanding the reason behind the sudden hostility. The girl asks Yunying for her name, and Yunying simply replies, Anyong. The girl begins mocking Yunying and her family, especially ridiculing her simple clothes, comparing her to her mother, and calling them both pitiful. She turns to Dojin and with a provocative tone asks if she's right in what she's saying, but he remains silent and furious, refusing to answer. The girl grows visibly angry at being ignored and not getting a reaction to her taunts. Then she turns back to Yunying and in a clearly threatening tone calls her an annoying little brat. The arrogant girl continues provoking Dojin, sarcastically asking Yunying if she knows the meaning of the word vagrant. Dojin looks at her with utter coldness, then sharply retorts, calling her as ugly as an orc. The girl is utterly shocked by this unexpected response, staring at him in disbelief. She replies in a stunned, hesitant voice, asking if she really heard him correctly. Jun keeps glaring at her with fierce, angry eyes. Jun recalls the harsh past of the real Jun, who was born into severe poverty. After his mother died when he was 7, he was forced to move in with his biological father. But his life never improved as he suffered for more than 10 years from discrimination and neglect at the hands of his father's legal wife. He was eventually kicked out again and went to live with his maternal grandmother and his half-sister Yunying, whom he had never met before. Dojin feels deep sadness and wonders how the original Dojin endured all this injustice and cruelty in silence. Then he makes a firm decision that from now on everything will be different. Dojin turns toward the arrogant girl with confident, challenging eyes and tells her that he lived with her for 12 years, and yet she still disgusts him. He sharply calls her hopeless from her features to her awful personality and foolish mind. He continues harshly saying that she's always jealous of girls who are prettier and kinder than her, and that she clings to a deep inferiority complex. He adds that she's never any better than Anyang, who truly and honestly cares about her brother's financial situation. The girl looks at him in anger, her face clearly showing the shock of his biting insult. She screams furiously, demanding to know what he just said. Suddenly, everyone hears a woman's calm voice saying, "Dude Jun, it's been a long time." The girl is stunned when she sees her, crying out, "Mom!" and rushing over to her, complaining tearfully about what Seo Dojin said to her. But the mother responds harshly, telling her to be quiet and to stop behaving in such an inappropriate way. Ignoring her daughter's actions, the mother turns to Seo Dojin with a seemingly gentle tone, asking if he's all right. As Seo Dojin leaves, the mother chides him in a voice that sounds sympathetic, saying that even if he's busy, he should still visit the house from time to time. Inside, Seo Dojin is filled with anger, thinking about the hypocrisy of this woman who hurt him the most for 12 years. The mother continues provoking him, claiming that his father worries about him a lot and expressing her disgust in an obviously insincere way. Dojin turns to her with a furious glare and tells her bluntly that their relationship is not the kind that allows her to ask about him or interfere in his life. Then he sharply tells her to get out of his sight immediately. The woman feels deeply insulted and humiliated in front of everyone by Seo Jun's firm and powerful response. She leaves overcome with anger and embarrassment while her daughter stands behind her stunned by this sharp and humiliating confrontation. As the woman walked away angrily, she wondered to herself if this person was really the Seo Dojin she used to know, the one who would always lower his head, even when beaten for no reason. Her daughter hurried after her, calling out and asking her to wait for a moment. Meanwhile, Seo Dojin quietly turned to his sister Yunyoung and told her it was time to leave, and she immediately agreed. Seo Dojin thought confidently to himself, declaring internally that the Seo Dojin, who used to remain silent and endure abuse, was completely gone, warning his enemies that it was in their best interest to realize that quickly. The car carrying the woman, her daughter, and the guard sped away from the scene. Inside the car, the girls started yelling in anger, demanding to know why they left like that, and insisting that Seo Dojin be punished for what he had done. Angrily asking if she knew what Seo Dojin had said to her, but the mother ignored her and coldly addressed one of her guards, saying, "Chief Lee." The mother turned to the guard and sharply asked why Seo Dojin was still alive. Guard Lee nervously replied that the report stated Kong Kale would already left Seo Dojin in the rift zone. The mother screamed in furious rage, saying that Seo Dojin was supposed to be dead and wondering how he could still be alive. Guard Lee immediately apologized and promised to investigate the matter again. The girl was shocked by what she heard and began questioning her mother about what she meant by saying Seo Dojin should be dead, but the mother gave no reply and remained silent, ignoring her daughter's question. The girl was left stunned and screamed at her mother in disbelief. "Did you really try to kill Seo Dojin?" Then, completely shocked, she continued, her voice filled with anger and jealousy. Her mother asked if she still had feelings for Seo Dojin. She replied that she absolutely had no feelings for him. The mother exploded in fury, grabbing her daughter's face and shouting vehemently, warning her that neither her grandfather nor her father must ever find out about this. She threatened her daughter violently and warned her not to interfere again, making it clear that this matter concerned her alone and she would handle it herself. The daughter was terrified and left speechless. Internally, the mother continued to see with rage, vowing to herself that Seo Dojin dared to challenge her, even though he was just a worthless, illegitimate child. She decided that she would make him disappear at any cost.